Okay, so hi everybody. So today I'm going to do another Gut Thrive in 5 alumni. That's kind of what I call my former clients. They are now officially alumni, and I'll touch on that later in the conversation. But today I have Geri. Geri and I actually go way back. She took me in to her home when I was going to be pretty much homeless one year because somebody who I was renting from had to up and move. And so we already knew each other going back to like 2006, I think, as far back as then. And progressing forward, I was a participant in the Gut Thrive in 5 practitioner program. And I sent an email out to people that I knew. And I was like, does anybody want to be my case study? I need some case studies as I'm going through the program and becoming certified. Does anybody want to help me out and become a case study? And Geri emailed me back, and I'm going to let her now tell her side of the story as to why she reached out to me. I think it was a little while after I sent that email. It wasn't like right away. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it was right away.
It was maybe a little further into me still looking for case studies. But I'm going to let her tell you all why she reached out and her story, her background a little bit, her story as far as what did she think Gut Thrive in 5 could help her with. So go ahead, Geri.
Okay, I reached out to you because my body was not doing what I wanted it to do, and it was feeling pretty icky. And I had tried my own thing, but reading about gut thrive from what the limited stuff before I started that you sent me, it sounded like something I needed to learn more about. Not sure what I expected initially, but I reached out because, yeah, I felt I was at one of my lowest points, and I needed something. You're always looking for something. For me, I'm always looking for something to learn. Where that helps me. I wanted to reach out and have you tell me that. What can I learn from your program? And I found out.
Well, I think it's important to say like it was after COVID, but it wasn't too far after quarantine. And so you had reached out to me with a lot of having been quarantined, newly retired,
Yes.
been quarantined, and experiencing, like you just said, some of those factored into
Yes, there was depression. There was like not eating properly. It was more than just the food. My body just felt like it was aching all the time, and my gut was not. I was constipated all the time, and I had went to doctors about it, but did not get any. It was never resolved from the doctors.
Yeah. And so you were actually my first, so I think we both went into this in the same situation where we were both learning together. I had already I was going through the program when you were a client, but I was, I think, 2 steps ahead of you. So yeah. I was on step 3 when we were starting step 1 with you, but we were both in the same situation, which I didn't know what this was going to do for somebody else. I knew I was feeling better, but it was just like, how's this going to work with someone totally different? And so I think we were both learning together, which made it kind of cool. And so, yeah, you were definitely my first case study. Had you ever received health coaching prior to going through this?
No, not this kind of health coaching. I mean, the only thing that like a lot of people, I was more focused on, I'm thinking it's just food that's causing, all of this. And so dieting, so Weight Watchers or whatever new, bad thing was going on, I was trying to reach out and follow that plan. But this intrigued me because it was, at least from the reading initially, it was way more than just what, it would help way more than just your weight.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I try to stress that to people a lot over the past several years. I don't want it to be Amy's like a weight loss coach.
Yes,
It's more like health gaining and
right. The whole mind, body, and soul. I mean,
yeah,
it's way more than you're going to lose 20 pounds or, oh, that sounds good. Yeah, but it's way more than that.
which we all become people who are attached. I mean, we can easily succumb to those catchy phrases because, I mean, even as a health coach, it's not that I'm perfect. And like we've had conversation before, I succumb to some of that because there are those moments when you're just like, I just want to feel better. I just feel heavier. I feel like water weight. I feel retention. And some of those things will provide those temporary
Yeah,
moments.
but you're not getting to the root cause of what's going on and why you're feeling like that.
Yes. And so,
Not just losing weight is going to make you feel better. And I think that's what really drew me, to your program from
and
what the information that you sent me.
yeah, and I think I would absolutely agree with that. Like this program is not for those people who are looking for
Right.
that. I just
A
need to
quick
talk to you
fix is
now.
not what this is about.
No, it's a healing journey
Yeah.
in more ways than one. And so how would you explain to the audience that doing one-on-one coaching versus doing perhaps challenge groups, group programs, how is it slightly different or majorly different?
It's majorly different for me. You can get lost in a sea of other people, when you're in, and it is helpful to a certain extent, but not when you're unique. Everybody's
Yeah.
body and symptoms are unique to themselves, and for to be in a group or doing it on your own, even it for me personally, it doesn't work. And that one-on-one was definitely key to my success. I couldn't have, you got to know me and my, things that were going on inside my body as I was going through it.
Yeah.
And we were able to tweak things or, work on it, which I wouldn't get from a group, or there's no way I could do it on my own.
Solo. And that's exactly kind of what we touched on with another client in that um, when you try to do it alone, you can have the same supplements, the same plan, but I do think sometimes when you have that accountability,
Well,
uh,
it's also the knowledge that you possess that I don't have.
yeah,
And that's how you learn, from someone who knows and has studied that's your profession and it's not mine. So going through this with you, as I would never have thought certain things that, well, why don't you try this or do this? And, I wouldn't be able to do that on my own because I don't understand the process. I kind of relied on you because I knew, just because we go way back, I
yeah.
knew how much you put into this and to learn everything. And I kind of just, I'm going to let you take that so I can relax and do the program.
And that's good information because it's like, as I always say, when you work the program works for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so how would you say the program, I'm trying to think of how I phrased this with the last client in terms of, would you describe the program is successful for people?
Oh yeah. And it surprised me in a lot of different ways it was successful. I was thinking, oh, I'm going to lose weight, but became the bottom. It's like that happened if it happened because eventually I realized, the number on the scale is, people tell you that all the time, but to realize as you're putting good things into your body and doing mindful thinking and meditating and journaling and everything that goes along with healing your gut, um, I mean, depression becomes less, medication can change. So I didn't expect all of that. I just, you know, really in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lose some weight. That's all,
Yeah.
but to realize everything that was happening and how slowly over time, I mean, it wasn't, oh, I feel great. It's a process. And I began to accept it as a process. And slowly but surely, I realized my mind was like, I don't care what the number on the scale is, because I know, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to be less constipated. I'm starting to be less depressed, and
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
think
amazing.
I think you nailed it when you said it's a process. And so when you this is something that I always ask people, how would you describe the process?
It was it was intense, and I was worried, can I keep this up?
Mhm,
And that's again where that one-on-one and the connection with you helped me keep that up,
mhm.
because just that positive statements, and this is what's happening, this is normal, this is going to happen, every step of the way is the only, and for me it's the only way to go personally, but because it was intense. And just getting up in the morning and being on the strip and
Stage
doing
strips.
all that, it's like it's like, wow, I didn't, realize all this was important, but
Why
sure
it,
enough,
why
it's
it
really,
matters and how it
yeah,
can help. Yes. And when we say it's vigorous and it's intense, it's just it requires a lot of commitment.
yeah, it
It's
definitely does, but it is worth every ounce of
That's
commitment.
why, yes. And so I want to go backtrack when I said, is it successful? I was wanting to phrase it differently. Does the program set you up for success? And in that way, so people understand, like, they're not going to be just handed this stuff and it's like so complicated. And so it's actually very step by step.
Right, it's
Yeah.
step-by-step process, and it absolutely does. I mean, we each week, or however we set it up, week
Right.
once a week, twice a week, whatever you set it up with your client, before we end, this is what we're doing, and here's the next step. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't have to think about way over here. I'm going to think about what's next, and that's all. And then I make it to that point.
Yep. And so that's why I always explain to people early on, I'm not sending you the whole thing. You're only
Right.
going to get what you need when
Because
you
it's
need.
overwhelming. It's
Yes.
overwhelming. And then people, I would have been like, oh, nope, I'm
Yes.
not doing this.
Yes. And that's exact. But then by the end of the program, I think you can look back and you reflect and you go, oh, it was like it's over. Like early on, it seems, and then at the end of it, it's like it's already done. And then you have these moments where like, I didn't know this about that food. I didn't know this about that herb. Um, what was your biggest achievement, would you say, at the end of the program? What did you notice what was the biggest difference for you?
You mean as far as the
Like
intake, the supplements?
what was probably something that when you finished the program, you walked away and you go, I didn't think I would heal or feel better in this respect?
Like my issues before, like depression,
Yeah, yeah,
constipation.
yes,
I thought, well, shoot, if a doctor can't help me, how is this going to help me? And it did. And my medication, I came down, I'm not off the medication because that's how I am, but I was able to come down. And my sleeping
yeah,
also.
sleeping, yeah,
Yeah, I used to be on a prescribed drug, and now I'm on like melatonin,
yes,
where
somewhere
I'm able
natural.
to, yeah, relax and be able to sleep better.
So it kind of your body became more balanced. But the way that I also look at it, and what I was trying to hit on, is I think it's helped people transform their perception of life.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
in terms of like, because you regain your energy, you regain a more balanced body, you're more,
the outlook, your outlook. I mean,
yeah,
that's where the depression for me personally comes in. My outlook towards life changed.
yes, yes. And because
Definitely.
that's where I can relate as well. And that's where I try to keep, that my message is always like, it changes how you perceive, what
Right.
you can be and what you can become. And because now you have the energy, now you have the
Right. Energy
motivation.
was another big thing. I mean, I'm getting older, and things make me more tired. But
Yeah,
if things are imbalanced within you, not just food wise, but meditation and everything that goes along with it, you don't feel as fatigued.
Yes, yep, yep. And so I think that you nailed everything that I would want people to understand the experience of Gut Thrive in 5, because it is an experience.
Yes.
It's a 4-month long process. It takes time and it takes patience, but then you suddenly are done and you realize you spent so much time with that person, whether it was not directly in front of me, but it isn't, you are in front of me. You start to miss a little bit of that, because I
Yeah.
think it's that one-on-one conversation and connection. And so many people are missing out on connection this day and age. True, genuine connection. That I think that's what helps people heal, And so when you come to me, clients come to me and they're like, I need to fix, right? But then you leave and it's like you start to truly understand like what health is all about, And as you said, it's not the scale and it's not the diet. Diet is important, yes, because food tells our cells, our muscles, and our tissues what to do. But at the end of the day, it's like you're learning like your nervous system, but your nervous system becomes healthier with connections and with relationships and all those kind of things. The primary food that we would discuss in a session versus secondary food is the food. But the primary food is what creates health 95% of the time. And I think that's what people don't understand until they go through something like this, right? And they realize it's all one, and you can't one without
the other.
Yep.
All the other things that go with it.
Yeah. And so I feel fortunate that I came into this program, right? I stumbled into the program to become certified. But I think we went through it together. And so that's what makes Geri a special case, because we literally were going through the process she was learning from me, but I was also learning the process, and I was learning how to present the process. And so I didn't know it was going to happen, but at the end of the day, I was like, oh, this really works. And oh, this really helps somebody. And as a health coach, that's my goal. Your how you rate yourself successful is based on, and it's unbelievable. I don't need a statistic. It's what I see in front of the camera from the first day I see them until this, throughout the process, and just seeing them evolve and like the skin, their faces become brighter, smiling more, and all those kind of things. That's the success story, more than saying, well, your numbers are here and this and that.
Yeah.
That's not even part of my mind. It's more who's standing in front of me now.
And you can tell with working with you that that's what it is, and that's another thing that kept me coming back, for more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait some weeks. I'm like, oh yes, that's my next step.
That's good to know, because sometimes I'm always going like, there's a lot to this program, and especially during the pathogen purge, it's the same thing for so long that's when you fear like you start to lose them a little bit, because it's just the same. But I think when you experience results, feeling better, it's what keeps you going too.
Because that was a longer time, but you still, each day that went by, you can feel it inside. You can feel it working mentally, physically, and then the one-on-one, to show that, to tell that to somebody that understands what's going on.
Well, I was learning with you. That's the part you didn't know. But now I have a much better understanding, and I've had enough people kind of speak the same song, or sing the same song, I guess you could say. Well, thank you, Geri. I absolutely appreciate taking time out and sharing this with everybody else, because there's always somebody listening to something that I'm saying, but they just don't know, right? We're a society where we want to know before we dive in. And it's not always the case. You can't always do that with certain things. Sometimes you have to take the risk. But I feel very confident now to tell people, again, that the program will work. If you work the program, you can't do it halfway and expect to have, the results. But if if you work it, it will work for you. And then the thing that I was going to touch on that I keep reminding people of, I'm in the process of working on trying to figure out this membership program so that once people are off the program, they aren't just left high and dry. That for any alumni in the program, they'll be able to go into the membership plan for a year free so that they continue to get, you know, that education.
Yes, yes.
in the
I think that's
support.
very important. That's great.
And just as my thank you, because it is a commitment and it is an investment. There's no question to that. But as a thank you, it's like figuring out, okay, how can I keep them moving forward? But it's not the one-on-one as much by any
Right.
means. But at the same time, that's kind of like the parent letting the child go and saying, I'm still going to be here and we're still going to work you through this, but it's just not going to be as centered on.
Intense.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And so that's in the works. And so I always want people to know, like, that's where I'm moving and that's where I'm going, to provide that continuation of, but also because I like my clients. I've been fortunate. Might be a little selfish on my end too. But I've been fortunate to have had very, very good clients. And I like to think that's the universe. You attract what you give. And so I'm trying really hard to be a good person. No, but at the same time, it's something that, you know, you want to give back, and continue, because you get back the motivation when you see people getting something out of it.
Succeeding and knowing that you had a part in that.
Yeah, it's a give and give, right? So
yeah.
it's something that I've enjoyed, and you were my first. And it was very motivating to me, and it was probably extremely motivating because I was in something that I knew wasn't right for me, but I didn't know what to do, right? I knew I needed to make a career change because I wanted to be able to make this be available to help more people, but it was also going to help me. And you were that person that gave me that inspiration, because I was like, I think I have it. I think I've got what is going to work. And I thank you for that. So
welcome. I'm excited to see where all this goes for you.
Yeah, thanks, Geri. I'll keep you posted, and we'll be in touch.
Good.
But
Thank you.
yeah, have a wonderful day, Geri.
Thanks, Amy.